Sticking with politics, the Premier of Alberta says she will likely call a provincial referendum next year to allow Albertan voters to weigh in on ideas to protect the province from, quote, hostile acts from Ottawa.
Our government will not be putting a vote on separation from Canada on the referendum ballot. However, if there is a successful citizen-led referendum petition that is able to gather the requisite number of signatures requesting such a question to be put on a referendum, our government will respect the democratic process.
Premier Danielle Smith says she will chair the Alberta Next panel, which will include judicial, economic, and academic minds. She says while the panel works on ideas to protect the province, she will also appoint a special negotiation team to present a series of requests to Ottawa, including guaranteed access to coastal ports to ship resources to markets, the repeal of Bill C-69, and a share of equalization payments equal to what BC, Ontario, and Quebec receive. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by political analyst Lori Williams from Mount Royal University in Calgary. Lori, this idea of a referendum on ways to protect Alberta from Ottawa. For our audience here in Ontario, can you explain why Albertans may feel they need to be protected from Ottawa?
Well, the general sense in Alberta is that Alberta has not had as much of a voice, and this is true of many Western Canadians generally, not as much of a voice in policies made at the national level. And more than anything, there's a sense of unfairness, that economically more has been asked of Alberta and not as much has been acknowledged or given in return. So that sense of unfairness, I think, is something that's broadly shared by Albertans. What exactly individual Albertans or even groups of Albertans might say is the focus of that concern may differ, but there is a general sense that policies are not always fair to Albertans, and that there needs to be some kind of change to reflect or to correct that unfairness.
So what about these requests to Mark Carney? Do you think, number one, Mark Carney's government would support them, and number two, would these requests address some of the concerns that Albertans have that you just mentioned?
Well, Mark Carney's already said that he wants to make Canada an energy superpower. Danielle Smith recognized that in her speech, that 85% of Canadians voted for one of two leaders who support a national economic and energy corridor, or making Canada an energy superpower. Mark Carney's also said that he's open to modifications to Bill C-69, the Impact Assessment Act. There have been sections of it that have been found unconstitutional. Mark Carney has said that he's looking to try to make things more constitutional in response to that court decision rather than starting from scratch. So it looks like there's some openness there as well. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Premier Smith mentioned that she does not support separation herself, but said that if a citizen group wanted to put the question of a separation referendum on that ballot, that she wouldn't get in the way of that. I'm curious, how serious of a problem do you think the idea of Western separation from Canada is? Should we be worried that that's something on the horizon?
Currently, the support, according to several polls, is sitting in the high 20s in terms of support. And a lot of those folks just want more recognition, more protection for Alberta within the Federation. I think as people started to look at some of the details of what might be involved, that support might go down. Again, some polling is indicating that under certain conditions that support would drop down to about 10%. But it's not how many Albertans want to separate, it's how many share some of the concerns and grievances that have been expressed here by Danielle Smith and by others. The question is whether it amounts to something that should involve either independence or sovereignty for Alberta, and there just isn't support for that. And entertaining that as a possibility, as Preston Manning did, or even as Danielle Smith seemed to flirt with during the election, the federal election period, basically overstates what support for that kind of move might be. And I think it becomes, as Jason Kenney said, it's a problematic thing to try to gain ground by saying separation is a threat, when in fact the polls and a referendum vote would not likely reflect that.
That's Lori Williams from Mount Royal University in Calgary. Lori, thanks as always for your time tonight.
Thank you, Matt.